Ladies and gentlemen, draw your attention over here to the center stage here by the flagpole. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Valley Forge Park Superintendent, Kate Hammond.
Hey everybody, good afternoon and happy 4th of July. What a better place to spend the 4th of July than Valley Forge National Historical Park, your national park. On behalf of the Park Service and all of the partners and volunteers who make this day work, I want to just welcome you to Valley Forge. We have a lot of great events going on today. There's a board right over here that lists those, and you should have gotten, when you got here, a slip of paper with an agenda of some of the great activities going on. We have ranger guided walks, trolley tours, artillery demonstrations. So lots going on here besides all of the great activities right here. Thank you. Thank you. Of course, 4th of July is the day that we celebrate for the Declaration of Independence. However, that piece of paper did not make us an independent country. It took 7 more years of fighting to make that independence come true. And so that's, of course, the connection to Valley Forge. No, there was no fighting here at Valley Forge, but the troops spent 6 months here during the winter of 1777-1778, training and drilling to become a professional army that helped win the War of American Revolution. So great place to spend the 4th of July. We have a very special guest with us this afternoon who I would like to introduce by the name of Mr. Thomas Jefferson.
Thank you, and good afternoon. And thank you for allowing me to join you on this, the great anniversary celebration of our nation's independence. As you've just heard, my name is Thomas, or Mr. Jefferson if you prefer formality. Before I continue, I would just like to clarify, I have been told in the past that when I speak, I have something of a stutter, a high, squeaky voice, and I am so shy and mutter my words so terribly that I am almost completely unintelligible. So before I continue, I just want to ask, can everyone understand me all right? Ah, very good. Then it seems I've made some improvement, at least in that field. Well, in the summer of 1776, I was serving as a delegate from Virginia to the Second Continental Congress, and I was given the task of drafting a document that would serve as a declaration of the rights of the citizens of the British American colonies and of our causes for separating from England. At the time, I thought that sounded like a terrible idea, and I pleaded to have the burden of drafting such a document removed from me. My pleas were declined, and largely through the arguments of Mr. Adams and Dr. Franklin, I was convinced that I should, in fact, write this Declaration of Independence. Now, of course, years later, looking back, I can recognize the monumental importance that this document has. Its words served as an inspiration to those troops who camped out here in Valley Forge and fought and sacrificed so much in our war against King George. And with your permission, I would like to read a few of those words to you today. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to this separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, and that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused, after a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to the jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to pretended acts of legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes upon us without our consent, for depriving us, in many cases, of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people, nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have the full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Friends, these words were written for you. Our war against the King of England was won through great commitment and great sacrifice, but our war against oppression is never over. It is the duty and privilege of each new generation to strive for true liberty, to hold accountable those who claim power. See, equality and freedom, these things are yours by birthright. But to secure that equality and freedom for your brethren and for future generations, that is your duty. So enjoy today's celebrations, but remember just what it is you're celebrating, and help us to ensure that the 4th of July is remembered by our posterity for centuries to come as the birthday of a nation where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are truly enjoyed by all people. Thank you. And now I believe that the Continental Army is accepting new recruits into their ranks. So if you will follow the fife and drum across the parking lot, that will begin momentarily.